Her ministry is introducing many people to Jesus and His saving grace. Sarah put God first in her most difficult moments. Her courage inspires us today. Jesus gave up everything to redeem us, and His love compels us to put His kingdom first in our own lives. As we return the tithe and our promise offering, we are challenged to put God first. Sarah decided to put God
Hi everyone, it's Aunt Fernita. Today's story is called Payday at the Vineyard. The memory verse is from Acts chapter 10, verse 34. It says, God does not show favoritism. Today's message is God wants us to treat others as He treats us. John was busy raking leaves in his yard. After an hour, his friend Sam came by and offered to help. John found another rake, and the two boys worked together. 2 hours later, they were done with the job. John's father was very pleased. He gave each boy some money to say thank you. John and Sam received the same pay, even though John had worked 1 hour more. John thought to himself, "This is not fair." Then he remembered a story Jesus told about fairness. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire men to work in his vineyard. In Jesus' time, men would gather in the marketplace at 6 o'clock in the morning. There, they would wait for someone to come and hire them. One morning, a vineyard owner came looking for workers. At 6 o'clock, he hired some men. He agreed to pay them the usual pay for 12 hours of work. At 9 o'clock, he came back to the marketplace. He saw men still standing around. "Go work in my vineyard, and I'll pay you what is right," he told them. At noon and at 3 o'clock, he hired more men. Again, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just 1 hour before quitting time, he did the same thing. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the landowner told his foreman to pay the workers. He should begin with those who were hired last and end with those who were hired first. First, the foreman paid those who had only worked an hour. He gave them a full day's pay. Then he paid those who worked for 3 hours. He gave them a full day's pay too. Those who were hired first began to smile. They were sure they would receive more. After all, they had worked longer and harder than the others. It would only be fair, wouldn't it? But when they received their pay, their smiles turned to frowns. They got the same pay as everyone else. "Wait," they complained. "Those men only worked an hour. You made them equal to us. We did most of the work, and in the heat of the day, too." "I'm not being unfair to you," said the landowner. "You agreed to work for the usual pay for a day's work. That's what I'm paying you. I can do what I want with my money. Don't be jealous because I'm generous." Then Jesus said it again. "The last will be first, and the first will be last." Do you like that story? Do you think it's fair? You may not. And that's the point Jesus was making. God does not treat us the way we deserve. God treats us much, much better than that. It's His grace that saves all of us, those who accept Him at the last minute and those who accept Him early. God doesn't have to save any of us. He does it because He loves us. Do you treat others in God's family the same way God has treated you? When someone is mean to you, do you treat them with love and kindness? Try to treat others as God treats us. In that way, you show that God is much, much better than simply fair.
This podcast is read by Franita Buddy for Gracelink.net. Created and produced by Falvo Fowler. Post-produced by Faith To at Studio El Piso. The theme music is by Clayton Kinney. For more information, please visit Gracelink.net.
Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can learn many things from the Bible. I just ask the Holy Spirit right now to speak to all of us, including myself. And we will reveal yourself, that we might appreciate what you want to do in our lives. Father, I need your help. I need to cleanse me from my sins. And I need you, Lord, to enable me to do your will. Lift it up. We draw closer to you in Jesus' name. So I'm wanting prescription. So coming from a medical background, I hope that anyone here working in the healthcare or medicine or nursing, medicine. So we all have been sick, right? And we've all been given prescription or medicine that we don't particularly like or enjoy. And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I always loved going to the hospital. In fact, I would find an excuse to be sick, so I end up in hospital. Not because I enjoy pain, not because I enjoy pain, but I just feel nice being in a hospital. I don't know. I've been in horrible hospitals, but I love being in hospital. And one of the reasons why I enjoy going to the hospital was I used to get migraine every month. Once or twice a month, I would go to the hospital. I hated the A&E because I have to wait for 2 hours, 3 hours. I have to vomit or pass out before they have to actually put me in the room. So, which I don't like. I think it's very efficient the way the NHS is being run. But in my country, if you get sick and you have money, you get the best room. So anyway, I love being in hospital, and I had a conversation with doctors. Never thought I'd make it to med school. Never thought I'd be one in the future, and probably now I still want to be one. But I love being in hospital. You know why? Because when someone takes care of you, don't you feel love? And maybe it was that feeling that I wanted. That feeling that people are paying attention to me when I'm sick. But I didn't really get that attention. Maybe it's my attention seeking. Probably. I don't know. But that's what I felt. And I would take the medicine whether I like it or not, because I knew that it was good for me. Sometimes I would scratch myself. I remember when I broke my arm or I had stomach issue. And I had the worst experience I had was when, two of the worst experiences I had was when I had kidney stones developing, and that's one of the most painful things you can have. The other one was when I tear one of my ligaments on my right feet when I was playing basketball. I landed and I twisted my foot. My entire weight was on that ankle, and I couldn't walk for a while. That was one of the most painful experiences. Very painful, but then again, that's when I knew I was loved because my friends were visiting me. And I never thought I had so many friends. I had so many friends, but so many friends actually cared for me. But I love the hospital. And one of the things that I really like about the hospital when I was growing up was when I was little, we used to get those television that you can adjust, right? And then I could watch television, especially wildlife, because I love wildlife and nature, interrupted and without feeling guilty that I'm watching television. Because my parents always tell us off, watching too much television. But I don't watch the cartoons. I like watching the documentary, intellectual stuff. But then again, I could eat and I could be, left by myself watching the lions kill the zebras. But we have all been sick and we've all been given unwanted prescription. Perhaps medicine that we wish we could do that. And with this context, I'd like to take your attention to Psalms chapter 51. And not verse 6, sorry, I apologize, verse 7. And David says something very interesting. He says, purge me with hyssop. And this is what hyssop looks like. And I shall be what? Clean. Purge me with what plant? Hyssop. So this is a herb. And I shall be what? Wash me and I shall be what? Whiter than snow. When you wash someone because they are dirty. Interestingly, that when you get injured and you go to the hospital, and let's say you had a superficial injury, the first thing that they would do is wash it before antiseptic. And then he then says something very interesting. When I read this text, I see a medicine or treatment. And he says something else in verse 8. Make me to hear joy and what? I want to hear joy. I want to hear gladness. And then the context is that the bones which you have broken. I broke my left arm when I was little. I fell from the second bunk bed, and someone fell on top of me, and my bone bent. The good thing was, because I was around 6 years old, my bone wasn't fully, formed. I still have lots of, cartilage in there, and they straightened it. The nurse had to straighten it, and I remember that she got a wood plank, and forced. And I was like, stop it, stop it. I was really mad at her. I wanted to punch her. But my mom said, she needs to straighten your arm. It was dead. But the bones which you have broken. And then he goes on to say in verse 9, hide thy face from my what? Sins, and blot out my iniquities. Making me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Have you ever heard of the term bitter medicine? Right? Bitter medicine is something that is hard to swallow. Or it refers to an experience that is difficult to accept. It's unpleasant or painful necessity. When we're sick, we have to take things that are unpleasant, but we do so because it's for our own good. Another thing it says, something to swallow or accept that's unlikable for the good. That's what bitter medicine is. And I remember when I was in Palawan, if you go on Instagram, type Palawan, it's one of the best, voted the #1 island in the world, and it's in the island of one of the islands in the Philippines. I don't mind you if you go to Instagram and look at Palawan. You see, that's where I was born. White sand, corals, beautiful weather, bright blue waters. And there I went on a mission trip, and I'm with my brother. That's my brother over there. That's me. And my friend from India, who's at the international school. My other friend, he's from Palawan, he's a missionary. And my friend Carlos, he is from Angola. So my Angolan friend, studying theology. Teachers, get tan, with white sands, maybe snorkels and see the beautiful corals. Here I am sick. And one of my friends on the right is called Ronnie. He said to me, I know well here. Back in my country, India, we used to go to this plant and it's called neem. N-E-W-E-M. It's a very, very bitter plant. Bitter plant. In fact, so I didn't eat it and I ate the leaf and I spat it out because it's so bitter. Even the smell is strong. This is one of the most medicinal herb. And he said to me, just take it, boil the leaves and drink. And I didn't want to drink it because it's so bitter. He said to me, when you take it, keep doing this. Smell it when it's boiling and drink it. You'll feel a lot better. Guess what? After 1.5 days, because I tried it half day before the day and then 1 whole day, it was as though I never got sick. That bitter, whatever that knocked out, healed whatever that was in my system. It cleansed me. I was sweating because we were boiling it. I was inhaling it, and I was drinking it. I was eating the little nuts. It looked like olives. It's super bitter. It's worse than times 100 bitterness of olives. But it did me well. You see, Piron, my friend, put me on my country with your older brother, called Kuya. And he was in India, but we still call him Piron. He was right. 2 days after, I was so well, I thought I never had coughs or fever. And sometimes the cure isn't pleasant, but it's necessary. And sometimes in our spiritual life, in our spiritual sickness, in order for God to cure some of our spiritual sickness and illnesses, God allows us to go through some challenging, unpleasant, and if you will, bitter experiences. And this is why David says in Psalms 51, behold, you desire the truth in the what? Inward parts. After he said about the wisdom. And in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know what? Wisdom. Purge me with what? Hyssop, and I shall be what? Interestingly, hyssop is also a bitter herb. Hyssop has similar properties, this plant, with neem. It is used to purge. What is purge? What is the meaning of purge? To purge something. To purge something means to expel, to remove, to clear out, to get rid of. It says, purge me with hyssop. Detoxify me. And something I found interesting that I did some research on the herb hyssop. This is what it looks like. And hyssop is used for digestive and intestinal problems. Notice, you desire what? Truth in the... Before God could be truly in his soul, in his heart, he realized that he needs to have a cleansing. You see, for God to fully dwell in us, we need to go through somewhat of a cleansing. To follow the train of thought. You see that he said, first thing with hyssop. Hyssop has these properties. So it's used for digestive and intestinal problems, including liver, gallbladder conditions, intestinal pains, intestinal gas, colic, and loss of appetite. It is also used for respiratory problems, including coughs and common cold, respiratory infections, sore throat, and asthma, which is similar to me. Other uses include urinary tract infections and poor circulation. Some people in the past have used this to alleviate their HIV/AIDS. I don't know how they can do this, but yeah, it has been used in the past. Some use it for menstrual cracks to increase the blood flow. Some people use this a guard. Or a detoxifying herb. You know, he did the same things he did before he killed Uriah and cheated with Bathsheba. On the outside, nothing changed. He appeared the same. Remember, guys, Nobody knew David's heart. Everything remained the same. On the outside, David appeared like a royal husband, like a godly king. He still performed his royal duties, as a king. Nothing changed. He still sacrificed in the temple. He still led the choir at worship. David was a good singer and he composed good songs. He was still a worship leader. The nation of Israel did not see a change within him. He did the secret thing, nobody knew, because he was living his life the way he did before he committed sin. But God saw. And in 1 Samuel 6:7 it says, the Lord sees not as man sees. For man looks upward, the outside appearance, but God looks at the heart. What I'm trying to drive in here is that God is not concerned about our outward religion. God is concerned about our inward hearts, our thoughts, our commitments, our hearts. You see, it's very easy to appear something we are not on the outside, and it's easy to hide to others our true nature. And it's very easy for us to mask who we truly are, but to God, we cannot hide the truth within us. And David realized this after his sin in Bathsheba. He was exposed by prophet Nathan. And deep within him, David knew his heart was changed. He was no longer that man who walked after God's own heart. But listen, he still prayed. He still went to the church. He still sacrificed. He still walked like the Father. But something has changed. But nobody could see the change. Sad. And so when he was saying, Lord, purge me with hyssop, he says, I want you to remove my lust, my anger, my lies. I want the truth back in my life. David realized this after his sin, when Bathsheba was exposed by Nathan. Yes, he still did church. He still did a Sabbath school lesson. He was still the choir director and the worship leader. He was still the youth pastor. He was everything he could expect a godly man to be. But deep inside, deep within David, God was missing. He desired the truth in the inward parts. My friends, there's truth well in your inward parts. The man that was once called a man after God's own heart was no longer the same person. You see, this is why David says in Psalms 51, 16 to 17. Notice what he says. Still the Lord's things. Notice what he says. In Psalms 51, verse 16 to 17. He says, for you desire not sacrifice, else I would give it. You delight not in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. In God, I will not despise. You see, God is not really concerned about us attending His church. God is not really concerned, even me preaching to you. David is saying, if God really wanted you to preach, you to lead church, you to do all these godly performances and duties, He would have asked you that. But what God really wants, it says here, is a broken spirit. A broken and contrite heart. Oh God, thou wilt not despise. What David is trying to say is, what God is more concerned is not your action, but your heart. A broken and a contrite heart, this signifies a genuine and sincere heart. God is not concerned about the outward acts as He is within our inward hearts. While David did all these things, notice, he did so dishonestly. You see, you can sing here, I love Jesus, but in your heart, do you really love Jesus? While David did all these things, he did so dishonestly. His sacrifices, his religious performances were just a lie. I wish my son knows how to be like him. None of it would know it. His religious performances were just a lie because the truth was not in him. Just as you can see, just as you can say, I'm sorry without meaning it, we can be church and ministry and lose its meaning because our hearts are not right with him. God will see right through David. And you know what? God will see right through us. God was not going to let David off the hook. And remember, unwanted medicine. God was not only going to convict him of sin, he was going to give his heart a bitter taste of medicine, or a bitter medicine. As a consequence of his murder and adultery, God took away his innocent son. And this is very interesting. When God took away his innocent son, he didn't have to die. The son didn't have to die if he did it right. But because of his sin, his child with Bathsheba had to die. And this signifies Christ, the innocent child for us. But in the story, this was the consequence. You see, saying sorry and Lord, I will do it again, wasn't the treatment, wasn't the cure, wasn't the solution for David. God didn't let David off the hook. God was not only to convict him of sin, now he felt bad about his sin. He was going to give his heart a bitter medicine. As a consequence of his murder and adultery, God took away his innocent son that he had with Bathsheba. This painful and bitter as it was, an unpleasant medicine was the cure David had to take. It was an unpleasant necessity. You will say it's unfair. It's unpleasant. Friends, God will sometimes use the unpleasant, the bitter, the difficult experience of life to teach us a lesson. It says in Revelation chapter 3, verse 19, as many as I love, I rebuke and I walk. Not just like rebuke. You know what a rebuke is? You point out someone's mistake. But it says, I rebuke and I chasten. I don't know about you, but when I was little, I used to get punished. Chasten. It wasn't like it was down in the corner and looking at the wall. No, it was real. Like looking at the wall, wasn't gonna make me a good child. No, I really need a good spanking. I'm telling you, some kids don't need it. Some kids don't need it, but I think I needed it. As many as I want. But then what do we say when we're punished? You don't love me. If you love me, you would not have taken my son. If you love me, my boyfriend would not have left me. If you love me, I would have passed that first test. If you love me, I would still be in that school. Hello? If you love me, I wouldn't leave you. Sometimes it is those unpleasant experience which God loves us and He allows us to take painful, bitter medicine. As many as I rebuke, I point out the mistake, but I don't just say you're wrong and make you realize. I chasten, I discipline. At the birth of his first child in Bathsheba, the story goes, the son was seriously ill and passed away. A few days after, and for 1 week, David did not eat. 1 week, David tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his head, and he fasted. He realized what he did. He put sackcloth on his head and ashes on his head, and he believed. This is where this saying comes from. Your desires are not sacrifices. Else I would have been. The sacrifices of God are of the Holy Spirit. And they are contrite heart. O Lord, you will not despise. So when David said, what God really wants is a broken spirit and a contrite or sincere heart, this was the experience David had when his firstborn innocent child was taken away. You see, the loss of David's child was what brought change. in his heart, which nothing can. He realized for the first time the sinfulness of his action. When someone innocent had to pay for the price of his sin. See, some things in our life we don't realize until God has to take it away. Until we get into some big trouble. That was necessary. God had to take something precious away from his life. You see, he didn't realize what he was doing was wrong when he took Uriah, the innocent, life away. He only realized it when his innocent child with Uriah's wife died. You see, this experience was the first time David genuinely felt remorse and disgust from what he did. David saw his true condition. He realized the person he became and the mess he was in. The presence of God that comforted him in his darkest moments left him. The presence of God that comforted him in his darkest moments, he realized was wrong. That's why he says, "Cast not thy presence from me, and take not thy Holy Spirit." You know, sometimes when someone's gone missing in your life for a long time, you miss them for the first 2 weeks, first 2 months, and then when they're gone for a while, you kind of like, it's good. God had to remind me like what it was like when we used to be with God. For a while, the presence of God left him, and it was okay. But then when he was fasting, he recalled the moments of peace and joy he had before he was separated from the presence of God. No lion, no bear, no giant could touch him. No sword or spear thrust towards him could slay him. He remembered the time he was on the run for his life from Saul, yet despite being a vagabond, he recalls the Psalms composed the song of God and God while on the run. All that peace, all that assurance, all that tranquility left him from the moment the presence of God was on his heart. Exposed to his emptiness, loneliness, he once again desired for God's presence to be present in his life. You see, the bitter medicine David took was not pleasant. It was embarrassing. It was painful. It was difficult pill to swallow. And after that, news got round about what to do. But it was necessary. What might seem like a punishment, it actually. I did some research on this, and after Googling what hyssop tastes like, look what I found. Hyssop leaves and flowers taste like mint, but with more floral character and a pleasant bitterness. When you taste it, it first tastes bitter, just keep on chewing. The virgin of hyssop is bitter, but delicious. The first taste is bitter, but if you let it linger for a while, it leaves us aftertaste. You see, in Hebrews chapter 12, I don't have it on the screen. In Hebrews chapter 12, and I'm marking them. Verse 11, this is what it says. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. It says, "Now no chastening, or discipline, seems to be joyful for the present." But what does it say? It is painful. Nevertheless, afterward, it yields peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. You see, when we go through painful experience where God is trying to remold our character, try to rebuke us and change us, or remove some toxic characteristics or sinfulness in our lives, it's painful. But afterwards, it produces what? Peaceable fruits. You know, what is the characteristic of fruits? It is sweet. It is sweet results. Sometimes God will allow bitter experiences in our lives to purge us from our sinful habits, thoughts, and characteristics. But the end result is The bitter medicine will not be pleasant, but worse. These experiences may be short like David, or as long as 40 years for Moses. You see, God had to take Moses, the proudest man in the world back then. Because remember, he was born in royalty, he had a silver spoon. God had to take him from the palace to the wilderness for 40 years. It took God 40 years to turn the most proudest man in the Bible to become the weakest man. 40 years. Isn't that long? You see, to blame God for the unpleasant or bitter experiences in our life, it's like blaming a doctor for the painful surgery to remove a malignant cancer. Things like cancer of the heart. Depending on the severity of this spiritual cancer, depends upon the course of action taken. When in its early stages, the treatment is usually mild. You see, when the child is a little bit naughty, you don't need treatment. Punishment is in it's not or but in the later stages, the treatment becomes very strong and aggressive. Speaking of surgery, David also says this, and I want to end with this. Second verse, make me to hear what? Joy and what? He's basically trying to say, Lord, being far away from you, I've been depressed. I want to be happy. I want to hear joy. I want to hear gladness. That the bones which you have what? Broken, they rejoice. Speaking of surgery, I was researching limb lengthening surgery. Have you heard about limb lengthening surgery? Well, before I wanted to become a missionary doctor, I always wanted to become a plastic surgeon. This was because I'm quite artistic and I like aesthetics. I can't tell where I'm on. She's only drawing, naked bodies. So what the hell are you doing? I said, it's art. I like aesthetics. And I wasn't thinking about the money, I was just thinking like, I cut hair. So I like, making it look nice. Yes, I want to become a plastic surgeon. I was looking into this limb lengthening surgery, and what it does is it was developed in Russia, where when someone broke their leg and they recovered, sometimes when you're fighting, your leg recovers, but one is longer than the other because it's compacted. So what the Russians did was, for the soldiers who got injured, was that they broke the bone again, and they put screws on top of the bone. It could be your femur, or it could be your tibias. And what they did was they screw metal rods outside your skin towards the end of the limb. And what they did was, after they break the bone, they let it heal for one day, and then the following day, they increase it by 1 millimeter. And that's painful, because once the bone is healing, you're breaking it again to lengthen it. And then the next day, another millimeter. So the bone hasn't fully healed, but it's depositing what? Bone. Because you have two cells in your body, in your bones, the osteoclast and the osteoblast. The osteoclasts are the ones that dissolve broken bones, and the osteoblast is the one that creates more bones, lays more bones. And so when you're constantly stretching the bone, you're breaking the bone, healing the bone, breaking the bone, healing the bone. And they found out that you can actually grow your bones up to 4 inches. Well, it was used to treat people with deformities as well. When bones are curving. But now it is the #1 most expensive cosmetic surgery or plastic surgery. People are 5'8" and wants to be 6 feet tall can now do it. They purposely go to a doctor. It could be performed in Turkey or in England. They break their bones, like they literally have to cut the bone, break it, drill screws outside, and do the same thing. And it's interesting that on your femur you can grow way more inches than your tibias because it's thicker. You have one thick bone here and the tibia thick. But in the femur you can gain more inches. And some people, they will lengthen this one and they're not contented with a few inches, with the 4 inches that you can achieve here. They want to go to the lower legs. And you can be someone 5'8" and then all of a sudden 6'3" by lengthening the limbs. Interesting. And such surgery can cost 75,000 to 250,000 pounds. One clinic in London claimed that they can increase your height by 10 centimeters. Some of us want to be a bit taller. You see, the beauty about this surgery is that the longer limbs, are just as strong, if not stronger, than the original limb. Why? Unlike your soft tissues, when you injure them, they usually heal with scar. Not the same time, scar tissues. When you break your bone and it recovers, it heals with not scar tissue. Because of the osteoblasts and the osteoblasts. And it's not just as strong as the original, it will be stronger than the original, because when the bone is remodeling, it deposits the bone tissue as it stretches. It forms more bone. And in fact, when you do an X-ray, you can see that the bone is actually thicker when it's stretched. Yeah. And the lesson here is that when David said, "Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you have broken in rejoice." This is quite interesting. Why would you rejoice when the bones are broken? It's interesting that one of the most painful experiences we can have, painful and not life experience, really, so painful that someone pass out or die. And David says that the bones which you have broken rejoice. In other words, he saw the value of this unpleasant experience and had this God for you. He said, "Lord, thank you." You see, sometimes God has to break us in order for us. Sometimes He has to break our pride, crush our expectations, allow us to go through a heartbreak or disappointment to build us up. I want to conclude the matter. We will, at some point of our lives, experience God's unwanted destruction. Unwanted treatment. But it is through these bitter medicine and painful experience that God seeks to cleanse our heart and grow our characters. And ultimately, it is some of His methods of saving us. If we weren't so sin-sick, such treatment wouldn't be necessary, but we are. But the great physician prescribes such bitter medicines that we might find a sweet. I want to read this quote. It's found in Ministry of page 464, paragraph 1. Ministry of page 404, paragraph 1. Oh, this is that messenger. Ellen White says this concerning about our disappointments and religious faith. She says, "In the future life, the mysteries, the things we can't understand, that have annoyed and disappointed us, will be what? God will explain to you why you woke up with the pen in the past, why He allowed your mother to die too early, why that person had to die from the or why you did not go to university, or why you did. In the future life, the mysteries that have annoyed and disappointed us will be what? The things you can't understand, God will explain to us. See, this is the reason why I love the word. And she goes on to say, we shall see that our seemingly unanswered prayers, what? Didn't they pray, Lord, spare my child? I don't know what prayers you made in the past that wasn't answered. But Ellen White says, we shall see that our seemingly, what does seemingly mean? You thought it wasn't answered, but it was. Our unanswered prayers and disappointed hopes became our what? Greatest blessings. You see, just as grapes needs to be crushed to make wine, flowers need to be pressed to extract perfume, we are encouraged to praise God in the unpleasant experiences of life. Because from this, the Lord is seeking to extract the sweet from this. See, I live in Warrington, and this is my story. 3 miles away from where I live, you probably know about Children's Hospital, all the way. And unfortunately, many kids that go to the hospital go there because they have leukemia, that's in the bones. And you know, they go through chemotherapy, and they have this ritual in the hospital. Whenever someone is cleared from cancer, the doctor comes and everybody stops, the nurses, the staff. You give the child to them, and the child signifying that they have one. I was wondering to myself, why such ritual? Maybe it's to inspire hope from those who are still undergoing cancer. You can make it. I believe, therefore you can. See, friends, I believe God is now, but we don't believe it's there. And as soon as I see these children pure and things, they have, and angels rejoice to see the Son. Friends, no matter how simple we are, no matter how bad we have been, or how things have turned out for the worst, the great physician, there is no secret, so the treatment may be rough, it may be unpleasant, it may be painful, but if we allow him, he has a 100% success rate. We let him go through the process. He can give a new heart to the living mountain, a new spirit to be depressed, a new mind to stubborn and rebellious, a revival and reformation to the soul lost and dead in sin. God is there, and he waits to reign. We have a great physician who's not about profit, not about masking symptoms, but curing our physical and spiritual diseases. Until we are made clean, washing the rest of the white snow. Until we are white with snow, until our brokenness is healed. Until we are in his presence, the great physician will not stop. He will not give up until we are restored. I hope you pray this, Lord, pushing you this. Lord, break me, and I might rejoice. I think we all need to start seeing what seems like a painful curse. It's perhaps one of God's unwanted medicine or unwanted prescription. Do not feel pleasure. Do not feel nice. But the end result is good.
We shall close with hymn 255. I can not tell why. Shall we stand? You don't know it. Oh, sorry. Okay, let me play the.
Angels worship, to set his love upon the souls of men. For why a shepherd he should seek the wanderers, to bring them back, they know not how or when. But this I know, that he was born of Mary, when Bethlehem's manger was his only home, and that he lived at Nazareth and labored, and so the Savior of the world has come. I cannot tell how silently he suffered, when 23 sleepless his face amazed. No one will touch upon the cross of broken, that one of pain to breathe and the end. And this the song, sorry, what did I do? Always a dying on the heavy laden, oh, still the Savior of the world is here. I cannot tell how he will win the nation, how he will claim his earthly heritage, how satisfy the needs and aspirations of east and west, of sinner and of saint. But this I know, all flesh shall see his glory, and he shall reap the harvest he has sown, and some glad day his sun will shine in splendor, and the Savior of the world is known. I cannot tell how all the lands will worship, when at his bidding every storm is still. Oh, who can say how great the jubilation, and all the hearts in the holy are filled. Of this I know, the sky shall soon his praises, 10,000 human voices sing, and earth to heaven and to earth will answer. At last the Savior of the world is come.
Father, thank you. Lord, the unpleasant, the bitter, the difficult, even the unwanted experiences that you allow for us to experience in life, are not there for our worst, but are there for our best. Father, Lord, we thank you. Lord, we desire to dwell in our hearts. And Lord, we desire to clean us and make us well to this man. Father, I thank you that with a great physician, you know just exactly how to warn us, remodel us, and we might come. Father, today, remind us that when we go through life's challenges, that we don't cry and blame, but we learn like David to praise you. With the bones which you bring, Lord, we rejoice. Father, thank you. That Lord, you're not in the business of spoiling us, but you're in the business of saving us. And that, Lord, I pray for everyone who heard this message today. Lord, may we be comforted that we are safe in your hands. May we be comforted, Lord, that you are with us every step of the way. That we desire our souls to be healed, our souls to be transformed. Lord, help us to be fit for when you come. May you, Lord, find us already, and you coming in hearts of us. Thank you for desiring to be with us. Thank you also, Lord, for being that innocent child, the firstborn of God, like to die for us. Lord, I pray for everyone here, and your blessings be with us, and your presence be with us throughout this day. I pray all these things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Right, thank you everyone. I hope we all go blessed. Before we go home, we can move to the other room, and there is lunch, which is nice and hot and warm. So we can just have lunch, and then after lunch we can pack up and go home. Okay, thank you.